Okay, so MonsoonSim is a platform of a lot of concept that is being digitized, and that allows any facilitator to configure MonsoonSim into business scenarios and allow learners to study in groups through gamification and simulation or simulation. Yeah, so that is now MonsoonSim itself. There's consists of a lot of components which we are not going to get into, but I just want to highlight them. First of all, we have all these micro concepts, they are digitized here. And then we have this environment management that is controlling the gamification and the simulation and the whole pedagogies, teaching the tempo and the pace and so on. And then we have the simulation outcome, and integrated reporting is part of this bubble. Simulation outcome, and then the simulation configuration, which these are the things that you can configure in MonsoonSim. So let's just take an example. This is the screen that a teacher or facilitator sees, yeah? And then you have the timing, controlling, and the date, and so on. There's a number of menus here. I'm going to go through that very quickly. So the first menu here is the team. As a facilitator, you can always set up teams for your learners to play in teams. Yeah, like this, in this example, there are 3 teams. So in a class, you can have up to 50 to 100 students, and that is the team management. And then here is your course management. So you can actually load your course, official course, or you can have your own course, etc. You can save your course, and you can get course from other facilitator, etc. And you can see that you can also, the content of the course is also provided. So we have a series of courses, and of course, one of the courses will become IR. Yeah, so you can load the IR, and then you can click here for the content. Okay, and the process will explain how you're going to run this course. It's all there. Next, I'd like to show you the outcome. So from this binoculars, in real time, you can see the students' result, yeah, the outcome. It could be in terms of live KPIs, it could be individual KPI, it could be a comparison, it could be a relative strength, it could be an absolute strength, etc., etc. Then here are the configurations. So you can see that there are 13 business departments here. You get finance, procurement, retail, marketing, forecast, warehousing, wholesale, etc., e-commerce, production, MRP, maintenance, human resource services. Now in finance, for example, here you click that, you can get further configuration. So you're free to configure here. You can get, manager, general entry, loans, you can turn on the loan, etc. Okay, so this is how we configure MonsoonSim. So from an overview, from the top, from above, you can see all these modules, all these departments, integrated business environment. Yeah, so it's an enterprise. So you have all sorts of departments, and you get vendors, you get customers, you get supplier, you get e-commerce, you get web market, etc. So these are represented by all these buttons here. Yeah. So if you turn on everything, then you will get all this. All right. So this is how you control. This is how you set the environment. Now, as an example, let's set up a small retail business. Then all you have to do is to turn on 4 modules. Then you get a very simple retail business, right? So someone buys and then you sell. But in this very simple context, that's enough to learn a lot of concepts such as revenue, COGS, etc., etc. Just a simple scenario like that. So the student will get to learn this through gamification and simulation. Now, another example is that, let's suppose you turn on the loan, right? So you turn on the same 4 modules, then you turn on the loan. Now you get loans. And all of a sudden, then the students will get exposed to a new concept, such as how the loan amortization works, how does the short-term liabilities being recorded, what is the credit rating, what is the current ratio, etc., etc. So this is how you configure MonsoonSim and teach. For example, another example, a manufacturing company, you turn on additional modules. Then you have this, you have machines and so on, right? And all the machines, they have attributes. They can set the attributes, for example, the carbon footprint, the carbon usage, the energy usage, and the logistics, all the energy and the wastage, etc., etc. So you can set all that, let the student learn through a game. Okay, so in this case, you can learn the concept of bill of material, buffer stock, etc., etc. Then this is as a result of the collaboration with Dr. Tin and Dr. Edwin Lim. We get this new thing called R&D. So in finance, you can turn on research and development. When you turn it on, then the students will have a number of projects that they can consider investing for the sake of maintaining their future value of the company. So they really need to have this intangible, the concept of what is the net present value, what happened if the R&D is a success, what happened if the R&D is a failure, right? So how does the booking comes in and how does it relate to IR and so on. So you can, again, you can simply set this and let the student experience. Okay. So what we have so far is, so MonsoonSim actually can be used to teach the following concepts, the following subjects, accounting, business analytics, economics, all this. But what I really like to highlight this morning is that we have added one course called integrated reporting. Now, this is what we are going to focus on this morning. I'd like to show you how we can do that. So essentially, we will use all the modules, yeah, even though they are, we don't turn on all the, advanced function, but we can, sufficient just to turn on the basic function of all the modules, then good enough for us to expose the student to all these capitals. All right. So just give you an example, financial capital, this is a report. Then the student will be able to see their equity funding, the debt funding, all sorts of, everything that is digitized in MonsoonSim, display them and let the student understand how they get this KPI and how, is it good, is it bad, how do we improve it? So this is from financial capital point of view. This is from social capital point of view. We got credit rating, number of campaigns, e-commerce rating, and then we have natural capital point of view, energy consumptions, the wastage, etc. Then we have the manufactured capital. So you have this warehouse, production, raw material produced and procure, etc. Human capital. Again, all these numbers are in the game, yeah, in the game. So when you play a game, all these numbers will be generated. So they will then feel the feedback, the outcome, and make decision out of it, and understand the consequence of their business decision affecting the outcome. And maybe from there, they can improve their game and therefore improve their critical thinking, improve their operation. Intellectual capital. Okay, so here are all the numbers. So in summary, you can now learn IR6 in the context of running a business through a game or simulation. This learning is for all levels, yeah, and the complexity is adjustable by the facilitator. So the facilitator can make it more difficult, and therefore the students have to really be careful. They have to consider a lot of other complex business concept, or they can keep it very simple. So even a high school student can understand IR6 using a very simple business model. Okay. Integrated report can be configured and published by learners with the specific URL, which will show you in a minute. Okay, so let's go for a live demo. This is the screen for the facilitator, yeah? So I have run a game, and the game consists of 3 teams. Jolly Juice, demo, and info. We got some robots here. We got some virtual trainer, virtual player here, and also some player here. All right? And we turn on all the functions. And of course, we turn on research and development, turn on the environmental impact. Okay? So this is where we have designed, we have set up the parameters here, and it's all turned on. But we keep it rather simple, and we only run for 29 days. That's it. And that's enough to generate a nice report here. So let's take a look at what the learner sees. So if I'm Johnny Gray, I come in, this is my screen, yeah? And here's my screen, right? So on day 29, I have already got a very, very large business. I got my retail store, I got my warehouse, I got my production, maintenance, etc. Human resource, all going, yeah? And then, of course, I can look at my KPI if I want to. Let's say if I check out what is my current utilization, for example, what is my production, what is my cost, for example, I can now have a good understanding of where am I, right? So let's suppose that I've been challenged to produce the integrated report based on today's performance. So I can come in here, finance and reporting, and there's a new menu called integrated report. I'm going to click it, and there we go. Notice there's 6 capitals are here, and they are all empty, right? But then there's a tab called configuration. So what I can do is I can load my report based on the results of my company at this very moment. Now I have my KPI, what is input, what are outputs, the intellectual, human, social, and natural, based on the result on day 29. Okay, so that is my, I've loaded the data. Now, in order to make it more fun, the rest are actually a little bit more learning exciting. We let the student configure further, such as selecting a very nice banner for themselves. So let's say I want to select this banner for my report. And let me just put in about my company. As you have seen what Michael showed earlier, there's a lot of good report out there. So I'm going to just copy from a notepad that I already prepared. Now I got my about my company. And then here are my team. Here are my three members. Yeah. So me, my friend. And 3 of us, we're going to make ourselves proud. We're going to call ourselves CFO, the CEO, and CMO. All right, so because that's what we do, right? When we play the game, I was like kind of controlling everything, and then some guy was like doing some, looking at the finance and the production and human resource, and the other guy was more on the sales and marketing. And therefore, we're happy to call ourselves that. And then we have, again, this is just for to encourage the student further. We let them put in their corporate strategy, as you have seen what Michael showed from other companies. So we have a simplified version. And then we can even further select a team banner. Now I'm just gonna just put in a nice corporate picture here. I hope it works. Yep. And then I can also select the KPIs that I like to highlight. Now earlier, Michael talked about that integrated reporting is actually, there is no standard of what you want to show, but it's your thinking, right? It's your thinking, it's what you want to exhibit, it's how you want to present it. So I'm particularly very proud of what we have achieved in the revenue side, and my margin was very good, and my environmental impact was outstanding, and so on. So I'm going to select 4 to 6 numbers, KPI. Out of so many KPI, I can select up to 6 to highlight. So let's suppose I select 6. Now I'm going to put in my justification. Remember, there was a lot of words in what Michael shows also in those reports. So I'm sure if you read them, there's a lot of thinking behind those words. So, but I'm just going to put some very, it's just something that the student will be learn to practice. Yeah, practice in making the report. Hopefully through making this report, they look into, they discuss among themselves, and also they do a lot of thinking, right? Because this is the report they're proud of. Okay, now when they're happy, then they can publish this. And this is the URL. And this is what they publish. And it says that it's not allowed yet because you haven't published, so I'm going to turn it on so I can control whether I want to publish the report or not. So now it's not. Now I'm going to turn it on. Yes. Now, if I click the same report, and you will see that here is my integrated report based on my company. And you can see the report that I have from our team that's our achievement. That's the integrated reporting. All these numbers they are already quite familiar with, because when they play MonsoonSim, they have already got this number, they have got this financials, all that, but they're not in the report of being like an input and then it's an output and then all this, and of course, they probably are not exposed to the concept of, you know, non-financial report. So now is for the first time we are able to show them, and then they can, you know, they get to do this also, you know, design a nice report. So in fact, this year in our competition, so for the first time, we are going to use the integrated report as a basis of their grand final judgment. So every team this year, instead of, you know, so they need to publish this and then send the link to the teacher or the judge and say that here's my achievement, please have a look. And the judge is supposed to look at this and then question them whether or not, you know, their thinking is in line and so on. Many thanks to, again, to Edwin and Christine for helping and sending me a lot of this Excel sheet and then telling me what are the components involved, and the whole R&D side also coming from these people. So I'm really grateful for that. And I think it's an ongoing collaboration, and I think we're gonna put in more and more as we develop further.
Abdy, Paramin, can they save the IR report? Let's say like now it's a day 29, right? But in terms of the time flies to day 59, can they save again and do the comparisons?
Not now, but right now it is based on when they load this data. So if they run from day 29, if they run till day 50, and if they do not reload, then the data will be based on day 29. Yeah.
Okay, I do suggest like this, just make them able to save. That's all.
I got your point. Very good point. Very good point. I think it's an excellent idea. Any other idea?
Hi, Abdy.
Yes.
Shah here.
Dr.
Muhammad Shah, yeah, from UTM.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this integrated reporting will be very beneficial, not just for business students, but also for non-business students like engineering students. So they will learn how to produce a company report based on the integrated report principles. And it will be good for them because we can see that even companies right now, they are run by engineers. So this will help them basically to give some introduction on company reporting. I think that's good. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You know, it's true, because as we design this report, you know, we ourselves have to learn a lot about the background of this. So imagine, you know, now that the student, you know, can just look at the outcome and then write something on it and experience creating their own report. I think it's very, very, you know, it gets you thinking.
Abdy, me again. In terms of the facilitators, right? Can we see overall every team the report in our screen?
Yes, Paramin, excellent idea. When we launch this, so this is officially launched, but we are actually putting some final point there. When you use it, maybe next Monday, starting next Monday, this report will appear on your screen. You will see that the teacher will be able to see the report from everyone. Of course, the teacher will see it from their simulation outcome here. So there will be a menu here called integrated reporting.
Thank you. I have the idea that I'm not sure the brilliant ones or not. So for that case, in terms of we have the integrated report, right? In terms of integrated report can be downloaded as a CSV and we can do, let's say, like a comparisons and do the more analytics. Maybe it would be great.
I see what you're saying. So you want all this to be able to exportable, yeah? I mean, right now, actually, you can, if you like, you can just copy and paste to your Excel, but you like them to be.
You just put the download button as CSV, that's fine.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other comment or observation, please?
I think Christine and I would like to thank your team for the excellent works, and thank you for the opportunities to collaborate. Thank
you, Edwin. Thank you. I mean, we went back and forth talking about a lot of things from many months ago. So finally, we get it going. That's good. There's some question that I like to attend to, if you don't mind. Let me just go back. Is there a competing concept report between IR and SR, both focus on sustainability? So there is a question, maybe it's for you, Michael. Is there a competing concept between IR and SR since both focus on sustainability of business?
I think that there has been that sort of confusion in the past, but they are not, they're complementary. That's what the interoperability thing is all about. I think something that also happened through this group of 5 last year is that the definition of sustainability has evolved. And this is something that has come through through papers from the IFRS Foundation trustees in April. And we can now distinguish between the broad business concept of sustainability and the more narrow concept of ESG, where ESG is particularly attached to natural and social relationship capital. Broad business sustainability is the concept that is being taken forward in relation to the formation of the International Sustainability Standards Board, and the way that that concept of sustainability is framed is of it being about enterprise value. It's all about the resilience of the business, and it is very clearly about financial and manufactured resources, and also ESG factors, but also intangible resources, particularly in relation to intellectual capital and human capital. So I think it's when there's an appreciation of that breadth of coverage that people start to understand, where ESG is better positioned as a component of the integrated report.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Giuliato, hope you got the answer, your answer. Then there's another question. Will the integrated reporting be audited by external auditors? How to establish credibility of the IR?
Is that for me again?
Will the IR be audited by external auditors? How to establish credibility of the IR? That's by Mr. Taib.
Yeah, look, I think that will be the dominant practice. And the instances so far are all, except with one exception, from the big 6 from accounting firms, KPMG, EY, and Crowe. The one exception to that is the assurance on CIPLA of India's integrated report, and that was delivered by DNVGL, which traditionally has been a sustainability consulting engineering type firm, but it does have a segment of its business out of London called business assurance. So it's not exclusively the domain of the audit firms, but I believe that they have a distinct competitive advantage in providing integrated reporting assurance when you analyse the skill sets required. And I also think that there's just a natural thing in terms of efficiency and effectiveness for the same assurance provider to both assure the financial statements and the integrated report. Because if you think about it, one of the auditing standards is about understanding the business. Well, that's the hallmark of integrated reporting assurance. Not only must you understand the business, but you need to be able to evaluate the fairness of the description of the business in the integrated report.
Okay, Thank you, Michael. Okay, so there's another question coming from Sir Earl. How do you balance the good and bad and the good news in IR, and what is the hardest to include in the IR? I guess it's a very good question, yeah, because you know, you may have some bad KPI and good KPI, but in the spirit of having, you know, a complete IR, you kind of wanna just show the good one, but what about the bad one?
Well, you are not complying with the framework unless you balance across all aspects of the report, including the KPIs. You are not in accordance with the framework, and a director that was claiming that it was would be not applying the framework. Number two, this is a really important question for the assurance practitioner. The assurance practitioner will need to form a view on the balance in the integrated report. And number three, a story that often comes back to me. I was in Japan in 2010 with KPMG in the early days of integrated reporting, and we went to meet the chair of Fidelity, the big investor. And the chair said, look, what I really want to know is about the quality of the strategy, the business model and the governance. And I really want to hear that from the board and the executive, because we do keep a watch on things. If we judge things on the longer term, and you know, we can usually spot if there's problems with cherry picking and just picking the good news. But over a period, it will be completely obvious, and companies that expect us to be a loyal and sticking investor, well, they're going to find out something if they demonstrated not to be putting balance into their reporting.
This is really a great thing to discuss, isn't it? I mean, imagine in our competition, you know, the students, they have to publish their IR, and you know, the judge will be looking at it, and you know, there will be very interesting discussion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you know, it's one thing that, you know, you show what you want to show, but another thing is when we read, we want to read, you know, as a judge, we want to know more, and that's where the balance come in.
Yeah, you want to read the real story, not the make-believe story that the organization would like to have.
Yes, interesting. Okay, so there's another question: is great effort to link the various business decisions into integrated overall picture. Have this kind of learning being tested on students? How much it improves their integrated learning, and to what extent is sort of encourage students to just depend on the system or discourage critical thinking? Edwin or Dr. Christine, maybe you can.
If I jump in here, I think this is all around the assessment and the discussions that you have around the work in your class. So when we run the MonsoonSim, we periodically stop and we ask probing questions of students, and we ask them to reflect on their learning and to compare and their business activities and to compare what they're doing against their competitors. And so while this particular module is brand new and hasn't been tested, we've had a lot of experience in students working with different modules and ascertaining what they need to do to be the best practice, you know, to obtain best practice and to get the best outcomes. We do have a winning team each week, and our assessment tasks are derived around the MonsoonSim modules that we're running, but they are really designed to probe students' understanding and to extend them past just what the system's producing. We also do cover integrated reporting in other areas of our unit. So we do expect students will be able to deal with this very well. I don't know if you want to add to that, Edwin.
All fine. Thanks, Christine.
Okay. All right. We got 10 more minutes, so feel free.